Every month, Nigerian governors and some federal officials receive what is known as a security vote. Hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of naira, supposedly to keep us safe. But here's the irony. While insecurity worsens from banditry in the northwest to Boko Haram in the northeast, kidnappings in the south, and communal clashes everywhere, these security votes remain one of the most opaque and unaccountable funds in our democracy. Delta State gets as much as 2 billion naira a month. Rivers, 1.5 billion naira, Lagos, 1.4 billion naira, and collectively, over 375 billion is spent annually across the country. Yet Nigerians still ask, where is the money going? Recent revelations show Bayelsa allocating 4.9 billion in security votes across 13 agencies, including beautification and tourism. Meanwhile, Osun Governor Ademola Adeleke made headlines by refusing his 600 million naira monthly security vote and channeling it into public projects, a rare gesture of transparency. Civil societies groups like SERAP are now demanding governors account for these billions, while the courts have even jailed former governors like Jole Oname for failing to explain how these funds were used. So today we are asking, are security votes a lifeline for quick response to insecurity or a slush fund for politicians? This is where I welcome you to Politics Uncensored, where we tell the truth as it is, without filters, without pretense. Today, we dive into one of the most controversial issues in our governance system, and that is the security votes. Our goal will always be to provide a platform for open and honest discussions where experts and everyday citizens like yourself can share your perspectives and insights. It's, of course, your favorite show, and we have an expert guest who will be joining us very soon. I'm your host, Okikiola Taiwo Jalupo, and you can call me the polyhumanitarian, and I'm here to make political discussions accessible to you all. So we want to hear from you because all of our episode is all about you. So be a part of the conversation every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to add your voice to this discussion. You can also head onto our YouTube channel right now at Official Upgrade TV. Hit that subscribe button, like, share the link, and invite your friends and family to join the show now because this conversation concerns us all. Our phone lines are also open to you. You can call us on 070-2500-7749 and 070-1424-2420. Let's hear what you have to say. We'll go on a break right now. We'll return with our guests and take our top stories in the political space making headlines. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back shortly.
This season on Heartlines, we're committed to making a difference in people's lives. So Heartlines, in partnership with Reda Consult, is offering 12 free slots of counseling every quarter for people in need of professional counseling. Additionally, we're taking on 2 pro bono cases for individuals navigating a challenging divorce. To participate, please send an email to counsel@vedaconsult.com with your story. Our team will carefully review all submissions and will contact all the shortlisted candidates. Heartlines is live Mondays to Fridays at 10 p.m., so engage with us.
You are still watching Politics Uncensored, and today, as I said, we're discussing security votes or slush funds. We are going to be exposing the governor's free cash purse, Nigerian governor's free cash purse. As I said earlier, every month, billions of naira are handed to state governors and certain government officials under the excuse of protecting lives and property. But here's the big question, and I'm asking again, if security votes are meant for our safety, why is insecurity worse than ever? Why are kidnappers, terrorists, bandits still holding the nation hostage? These funds are not even audited, not scrutinized, and not accounted for. To many Nigerians, they look less like security votes and more like slush funds, a governor's free cash pots. And I remember very well that I saw a video where they mentioned that these funds governors could actually cash in these funds without being actually breaking the law. So are security votes protecting Nigerians, or are they just another avenue for corruption? And my guest today is Abraham Great, public affairs analyst based in Ottawa, Canada. Pardon me. He has studied governance patterns across Nigeria and beyond, and he will help us dissect this controversial issue of security votes where billions are allocated and insecurity still persists. Thank you for joining, Abraham.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, so before we go straight into our conversation for today, there's a political story making headlines right now, and it's the president talking about his foreign trips to regain Nigeria's dignity. And he has said that his foreign trips are geared towards recovering or restoring Nigeria's pride and dignity on the global stage. The president said this in a post shared via his official handle on Thursday, following his return from diplomatic visits to Japan and Brazil. Tinubu said he was pleased to be back home after what he described as productive engagement with foreign leaders and international business communities. He says it feels good to be back home in Nigeria after our recent engagements in Japan and Brazil. In 2023, you entrusted me with the responsibility of restoring our pride and dignity on global stage, and I remain fully committed to that mission. Every handshake, every agreement, and every meeting is guided by one goal: to secure opportunities that translate into growth, jobs, and prosperity for Nigerians. The president also noted that his official visit to Japan helped deepen bilateral ties, opening pathways for investment in industry, technology, and human capital development. Meanwhile, his engagements in Brazil focus on enhancing cooperation in trade, agriculture, aviation, and finance. He also revealed that he held meetings with Nigerian business leaders in the diaspora, encouraging them to renew their confidence in the Nigerian economy. Well, he said that this is the new Nigeria we're building together, a Nigeria built on sustainable reforms that will outlast us, not one driven by rhetoric. A Nigeria that is confident abroad, resilient at home, and committed to creating value for every citizen, both within and outside our borders. The journey is not without challenges, but with unity of purpose and the courage to reform, I firmly believe the best is on the horizon. And I'm going to stop there because I can give kudos to the president. He's very great at speeches, at punchlines. He's very great at being patriotic when it comes to the things that concerns Nigeria. My bother is how this translates to actions. We've seen he applies a lot to electoral reforms. He applies a lot to quite a number of things, but I don't see it translating to actionable results that we see on a daily basis. So, Abraham, could you help me at this point? Tell me, maybe I might be wrong, that there have been some actionable results that we have seen beyond the great speeches and the electoral reforms and the economic reforms and all the reforms that we have been seeing and the renewed hope that we have been hearing since 2023 after President Tinubu got into power.
Thank you again for having me. I'm going to say, if you want to start on that note, that the president, traveling the world, we have to understand that the president of the country is the chief marketing officer of that country.
Absolutely.
And the president's approach reminds me of some, country leaders that I've admired in the past. There are some politicians that, imbibe this approach. And what you will study under them is that similar to, you can compare what we should expect from the administration of President Tinubu or what we're beginning to see in the turn of the economy, what happened under those leaders. So I mentioned leaders like Tony Blair. Tony Blair was a leader who maybe he lived in the plane more than he was even in England at the time that he was Prime Minister of England. He was always out selling, the United Kingdom cutting deals and then making bilateral arrangements and relationships all over the world. The same thing with Angela Merkel, of the former leader of Germany. You will see her, in different places negotiating and speaking on behalf of the country. The same thing we see in Nigeria is a very religious country. And you see in one of our major religions that the creator of the heavens and the earth himself had to imbibe something of sending someone. He said, who will we send? And then they had to send someone to the earth to come and market heaven, to come and bring about the ideology or the principles of, the heavens on earth. And that person, so what the president is doing, basically, I applaud. And in terms of it translating, now, the damages of decades or centuries cannot be repaired in 2 years or even in 4 years. I'm generally not a proponent of democracy the way we practice it. In terms of, it takes an average of 40 years to transform a nation. Every industrialization has taken centuries. And all this democracy of 4 years governance put us in a loop that I personally don't like, because every 2 years, into the 4 years of administration, you start campaigning again. That gives you less energy to focus on actually transformation. And every reformed country, every transformed country in the world today, including Singapore, took leadership that was intentional for about 40 years. So that was many years before even we start having democracy. Many of those countries, look at Singapore, for example, had a leader in Lee Kuan Yew who ruled them for over 30 years and were able to maintain stability. If you can remove the issue of periodic elections in Nigeria, and we have good leaders like Obasanjo, we have good leaders like Tinubu, you will go farther, than we have gone. So that's just my take on that. My prayer is that all his endeavors will yield. And let me add this to it. For those who, there are generation of Nigerians who believe you shouldn't agree with the president. If the president said there are less corruption or no corruption, he's lying. There are people that just believe that what we should accentuate is the negativity. I'm not like that. I'm not like that because I invest, I own companies, I have people, and I understand that translating vision, blueprint into actualization is not as easy. Secondly, the most prosperous nations are not just prosperous because they are richer than us. They are richer and prosperous because they paint a picture and they speculate. When I mean they paint a picture, you wake up, for example, I've looked at the stock markets today because I have investment in there. They use news, good news, bad news, to judge how your currency is doing, how your investment is doing. So it is for the advantage of the developed nation that we, in the underdeveloped nations, that we keep bastardizing our nations. Because the more we speculate on the news, on the media about the nation, the more the fear of investment. So our stock won't rise. But the more you project your nation, it's called make-believe. Hollywood is make-believe. New York is make-believe. Many of the places that you go is not, in many ways, it's not better than Lekki, but except the fact that they have permanent electricity. But because we just believe we have to fight government, you have to destroy your country, if we continue like that, we will continue the loop of poverty. And,
so, Abraham, I have a number of arguments right now, but let me say that these conversation we're having today, we might have to drag it other than this space. I would argue with you that your definition of good president, like Obasanjo, like you have mentioned, and Tinubu, a lot of Nigerians, and I'm talking about if this goes on Twitter, a lot of Nigerians will come for that statement. You have also mentioned that bad news is part of the things, or part of the things that actually paint us in a very terrible light and also scares, development away from us. And I guess that's one of the things that I've seen in our, I've been opportune to work with people who are trying to make Nollywood paint a better picture of what we look like as Nigerians. You have also mentioned that Hollywood, New York, all these places are make-believe, and they're trying to paint their country, you know, in the best light possible. And you have also said that the president is going around, of course, he's the chief marketing manager of our country, and definitely has to paint a picture that makes it believable for investment to come in. But as Nigerians who are living in Nigeria, the reality is very different. I watched a podcast yesterday of somebody saying that farmers are actually poor because they have to make food affordable. And I'm not talking about large-scale farmers who have acres of land. I'm talking about small-scale farmers who, for one reason or the other, they are the ones fending for a large community. We have seen so many communal clashes and all of these things destroying, you know, the Nigeria that we have now. If we translate all of these things that you have said, either being patriotic or calling on people to change their narrative about how they paint Nigeria, the reality continues to remain that Nigerians are not experiencing the best of Nigeria. And of course, you have said that the country cannot change with our electoral every 4 years term. And I saw somewhere that these governments are pushing a bill for a 6-year single term for, you know, the elected officials. While that was taken aback that, oh, we don't want 6-year term, 4 years is okay for us, so either take anyone out or bring anyone in. You are talking about 30-year stretch, and I don't think that Nigerians will agree with you that they want, or some Nigerians, let me not generalize at this point, some Nigerians will agree with you that they want the current president to be there for the next 30 years. They don't even know if this person is going to be you know, still fit for the president next. But what I'm concerned about is continuity. If you have started something good, how do we start to ensure as elected officials that there's continuity of something good? It's never, I think our democracy is always about my friends, my family, who am I going to bring in? And then they ruin all the other progress that anyone must have made from either the previous government or even suggestions or reports that are being made by people who are concerned, like public maybe affairs analysts like you, who might have brought in blog suggestions or anything to help the nation. So what exactly do you think that we should be doing differently as Nigerians? And what exactly do you think the president should be doing differently to get the trust of Nigerians to believe in this marketing that he's doing?
Thank you. I'm going to do my best to wrap this and then take us back into our topic mainly, which is the security vote. Because if you let me, I will discuss the democracy and our system of governance and all that for 6 hours nonstop. Right. So I'm just going to say that some of the things that we have to do, first of all, to be a public affair analyst is not an easy job, because you almost automatically put yourself out there to be liked and to be hated, because there is no statement that you say that will resonate with 100% of the people. Absolutely. There are some, but as a public affair analyst, one of the things that I do is that I'm an ideologist, and I'm a proponent of the current president because of one thing. From the point in my teenage that I've loved politics, or that I've known politics, I tend more towards the progressivism of activities of leadership, transformation leadership. And the reason why I had mentioned the name of Obasanjo, I don't think Obasanjo he does not have fault, and I'm not saying that these are the only two best presidents. I'm only saying that because they exhibit actions of progressivism. I'll give you an example. When Obasanjo came there, capitalizing the banking industry, one of the first moves that he made, that's progressive, that's ideologic. Retrenching some of the military generals, about 500 of them, at the same time, at that time, literally helped Nigeria to immediately overcome this cycle of, coups and stuff like that. So when I'm saying that great president, I'm not saying like they are the best or what have you. I'm talking in terms of policies that they make. how progressive. So Obasanjo giving license to TV stations like yourself, radio stations like yourself. Before that time, all that needs to happen for military to do is to take the NTA 2, NTA 5, NTA 10. Once you position yourself in those places, you have taken over. In Yoruba, they call it Ontigbajoba. The government is already taken, is captured. But when you have proliferations of TV, radio station all over the country, it's not easy for military to position themselves over that. So that is, when I'm saying, I'm not looking at their fault because they have many. I'm talking in terms of indelible policies that they made to make the country move in the direction of progressivism. So the same thing you are seeing with this president, recently, yesterday, I was trying to do some transactions in Nigeria, and I called my bank A, I called my bank B. Before, there is a lot of money that I'm trying to transact in, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, before, even my bankers will make money just trying to find somebody in between to change the money and help me to do the transaction. I will have to use 3, 4 banks. But I call bank A, I call bank B, and each of them were calling their malam or calling whoever in the parallel market, and we all resort. There is no difference in price. That alone is you don't know how big that is for FDIs. Foreign direct investors who invest with us, who work with us, they can now, there is something about budgeting. When you are planning and you can know that the rate of dollar in February when we are planning, but by November when we're going to execute in Nigeria is going to stay constant. Nothing beats that. Than, so that policy alone made me to see that this president is already on the path, on the right path. What can he do to make the people believe more? First, we have to understand, I keep saying this in almost everywhere I speak, according to Maslow's hierarchy of need, the first human need is physiological need. And I repeat, until Nigerians have 24/7 electricity, any president have not tried enough.
Okay.
Until you can switch on the
So,
light
Abraham,
and there is
we would round up these on these notes. Let's leave that one-liner.
I was going to tie
for
that
the president
into the security vote.
Okay, great.
Because
I would let you do that, but let's just go on a short break, and of course, when we return, we'll go in proper into our conversation for today. So please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back shortly. Well, thank you for staying tuned. If you just tuned in, we are discussing security votes or slush funds, and we are exposing the governor's free cash box. The phone lines are still open to you. You can call us on 070-2500-7749 and 070-1424-2420. And of course, I still have Abraham here. Abraham, you are there, right?
Yeah, I'm here, and I was going to type that the number 2 thing, if you let me just quickly pick from there.
Of course.
The number 2 thing, as postulated by Abraham Maslow on the hierarchy of need, is security. Security. People need to be safe. And that is why there have been provision by executive order or by the Federal Executive Council, or however it is being done, that governors have monthly allocation that we call or we refer to as security votes. Now, this money is allocated on a monthly basis, and the major purpose of it is to help improve security in each state. But the question we're asking today is, why are several states in the country still very unsafe for citizens to live in? We should ask ourselves, are these governors actually investing this money into security, or they have seen this as slush money? It's very easy for citizens to assume or to believe that this money is just there as slush money for many, because the number one reason is because there is no detailed legislative oversight. So when you look at each ministry, for example, in the Senate, you have oversight committee. In the House of Reps, you have oversight committees over each of the ministers, each of the money projects that they are doing. Who is overseeing the governors and their allocation or their disbursement of security votes? There is no, apart from Lagos, aside from Lagos rather, I have not known of any other state in Nigeria that has detailed accountability of how security vote is being used. And the reason I mention Lagos is that because Lagos publish its accounting and also its budget. And we can see that Lagos not only is accountable for its security vote, Lagos also brings in funds from private sectors. So private sectors in Lagos are able to invest into the security vote pause of Lagos State to improve on the security of Lagos. I still don't think Lagos themselves is attributing or utilizing the money totally for security, but at least we can see that they are accountable to a degree.
So,
now,
Abraham,
so if there is no legislative...
Let me quickly take you back maybe 5 seconds. So one of the reasons why we're having this conversation is because for many Nigerians, the term security votes even sounds mysterious. They don't even know what security votes are. They are already engulfed in the old budgeting and how the amount of budgeting is being spent. They are even still worried about how the recent news about increasing the salary or the basic salary on paper for the president and other government officials. They're still angry about that. So now they're hearing security votes, and they're hearing that Nigeria is spending billions on security votes. So if you could help us or help Nigerians who are watching right now, is there a way you can help us break down what security vote really is and why it has been shielded from accountability?
Okay. I think security vote is a monthly allowance or monthly allocation that is allocated to governors for the purpose of improving security in their state. And like I have said earlier, these monies are given to governors, and I may be wrong, and maybe those who are listening to me or anybody with but I couldn't find any legislative oversight for this money for us up till the last few months or the last few weeks that I was in Nigeria. And I've asked questions in this regard because if there is no legislative oversight over not just the disbursement of the money, over proper accountability of the money. If I was a governor, or what I think the governors should be doing with the money really is funding community police. And then also increasing strategic risk prevention. Also investing into emergencies, emergency response, ambulances, police vehicles. Now, here is how to attribute those into those three elements that I've mentioned here. Funding the community policing is vague in Nigeria because we don't have community policing. Our policing system is federal.
Absolutely.
So we need to pass the law, as we are arguing currently, that every state should be able to have state policing. Aside from state policing, another layer down, we should be able to have community policing. Yeah. That will help us to overcome this issue of vigilante, OPC, or what have you. Those can be adopted into what you call community policing. They can be licensed. Like the way you have the Asari Dakubo of this world in the South in Nigeria. Some people just abuse those people. They are what you call community policing because many of them actually have licenses to practice. They are your security outfits. So these are the people who live in a community who maintain morality and discipline in that community. In most cases, they don't even need to carry firearms.
Absolutely.
In our own case, we're African. Some of them can even use little things like bante. They can use things like passion. They can use things like koboko. They can use because they understand the discipline of the streets that they live in. And then you cascade that into the level of the state level. So this is where the investment needed to go into. Helping the state policing, buying uniforms for them, providing cars for them, installing CCTVs over the countries. Now, when I said risk prevention sometimes could be that this particular place is too dark. Let's put street light there. This particular road is too bad. Yeah, this is government road, but we're going to put sand on it. We're going to cut the grass there so that there is no place for criminals to hide. Those are risk prevention. So the money is not just there for governors to share or to share it among their cabinet. It is there for people to think out the box. How can we de-risk security? How can we settle, matters that are causing conflict in community before they escalate into riots, before they become war? These are the things that we should be, investing the security money into. Also, disaster response. This money should go a lot into ensuring that the country, some states can even invest into air ambulance, like Lagos have invested in. Having state ambulances, helping the police, building better police stations, not waiting for the federal government to build police stations. Also having stations for community dialogue, the way we were before the colonial masters came. When the colonial masters came into Nigeria, one of the things that they realized is that we have chunks. This is what we have Oba, we have Ijoye, and then we have Bales. We have people in communities who the matters of that community that two people are fighting. A husband just cheated on the wife. They can go to the Bale. They don't need to go to the king. They can go on the street and resolve the matter. These are the things. Our Obas are not there to be having arguments on who is king, who is not king, who should bow for who should appoint war. These are the money that should be going to Obas, and Obas should be listening to communal issues and be solving them at the local level. This is what the money, in my opinion, should be meant for.
Okay, yes, Abraham, I agree with you on a very large ground, and community policing is one of the things that I have been advocating and clamoring for. Personally, in my own area, we have a group of people who have so dared, to manage the security issues in that area. At night, we have people who are going around checking, okay, why is this strange object here? Who parked this car for this long? Who owns it? And all of these things are, part of the things that would de-risk security, as you have said. Those little concerns here and there. But we are still battling that as Nigerians. And I'm going to cite some case study of people or of states who, in this case, have directed their security votes somewhere else. So let's take Bayelsa, for example. 4.9 billion naira spread across agencies like tourism and beautification. And Nigerians are wondering, how is painting on walls going to stop kidnappers? So what does that tell us about how security votes are used? If you could help us maybe justify that diversification, or tell us what they should be doing other than diverting such money into tourism and beautification while kidnapping persists.
I'm going to use two quotes from two of my great mentors. The late Miles Monroe said, when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable.
Absolutely.
The purpose of the money is for security, not for beautification. But you see, in leadership, one of the key attributes of transactional leaders is that you've got to understand budgetary dynamics. Because the thing you are calling beautification, there are ways you can spend money to put flowers on a road. I'll give you a typical example. I've lived outside of Nigeria. I'm almost 50 years old, but I've lived outside Nigeria more of my life than I have lived in Nigeria. I think I've only lived 19 years of my life in Nigeria, the first 19 years of my life in Nigeria. Now, but what I remember very vividly, during the, when I mean vividly, I'm hearing from the diaspora and I travel to Nigeria a lot. When Governor Fashola was governor of Lagos State, one of the things that he did was planting flowers. I don't know if you recall.
Yes,
was
of course.
planting trees in Lagos. If that money was from security vote, I'll give it 100%. Because you can improve security. Sometimes there are tangible and intangible benefits of what you do. Improving the air quality also can improve security in the state, albeit it might be intangible, but also beautifying a state, overcoming. And there was a time he was planting generators around those flowers, ensuring that the roads are littered, because evil and insecurity thrives better in darkness.
In darkness, absolutely.
So when you use the money to light up a place, you may be having I do ROI as a methodology. In ROI methodology, there is something we call the intangible benefit of return on investment. So, for example, I pray, and my prayer that, okay, this conference we're going to have, that it should not rain. Many people do not know and cannot quantify the monetary value of that prayer. Perhaps had we not prayed and it rained, the destruction that it could have caused for us to. But how can we quantify that the prayer has a direct, proportionate effect on the event? Is that we will not just take one event. We will take several events that we prayed and several events that we did not pray. And then we can attribute what happened, and then we can quantify the money that we lost, and then we can put monetary value. What am I saying in essence is that there are ways that you can use the same thing. If the purpose is not to embezzle the money, you can still beautify the state. But we are assuring that the intangible benefit of whatever you are doing and allocating it for will be for the same purpose of securing your state. This is part of when I say risk management. We can prevent risk by beautifying, by making road, by doing things. Security is not all about condo and bullets.
Absolutely.
Security, there are ways that you think out of the box to make a state or a place attractive and unattractive for evil. The second quote that I was going to use is from Dr. Mensa Otabil. He said, don't negotiate your future when you are hungry. When you make a lot of people into political place, when all they have done in their life attributed to nothing, but politics is where they become rich, that you are putting poor people in charge of public fund. They are going to use the money because they are hungry people. You can see a leader once who have been a governor, been a minister, once and say, we are hungry. After running for almost 24 years, when you put hungry politicians in a place to run your state, your country, they will take your money to job, and they will never be full. They will never be filled. This is why people like me, even if I want to play politics in the future, even at my age, to be honest, between me and God, I don't think there's anything I want in my life that God has not given to me already. He has given me more than I wish. A little boy born somewhere in Mushi, and today I am grateful for where God has put me. But there is still more that I'm achieving. There is more that you can do outside of politics. But when politics becomes the means to wealth, then the lives of people will be at risk.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Well, CRAP has recently started to demand that all governors account for their security vote spending since May 2023. So the time is quite running out. So do you think that this is realistic, or will governors continue to resist being transparent? And if they do not, what do you think that Nigerians should do to demand for accountability?
I think the National Assembly should demand for monthly public disclosure of how this money is being, is being applied. That's my personal opinion. Also, I think that EFCC should mandate a yearly audit of how this money, without anky-panky. And also, if I was a chairman of the oversight committee that looks into this, one of the things that I would do is to ask for disbursement to actual risk level. That's what we do in ROI methodology. What is the actual risk level? So we can say risk 1 level to 5. The risk level of your state, proportionate to the money that is going, what is the risk? And based on that, I can actually get the National Assembly to put a provision in place for impeachment. That if somebody is receiving this level of investment and their risk level is below 2, for example, that governor can be up for impeachment. This will make governors to sit up the more. Also, it can also help private sectors, even citizens, to put into something like state security trust fund. We can create a state security trust fund so that if the money is not enough, because people are doing it already, we're having like a trust fund per street where a few streets will gather together and put money together to employ OPC or vigilante.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, something like that. So people don't mind investing into their own security if they know that their security is an investment.
Thank you very much. Well, so now, should Nigeria start to abolish security votes completely or reform them into a transparent? In fact, you have said it already. Security State Trust Fund is a better way to go, especially if we now have community oversight. But on the larger scale, do you think that security votes should be completely abolished, or we could still find a balance between having a state security trust fund and still having security votes?
Our Yoruba elder says that we cannot throw the child with the bathwater. You can't throw the child with the bathwater. There are states that are doing well with the security vote fund. I think what we need to do is to firm up the regulation on its utilization, its disbursement. At the moment, the distribution and the oversight lacks legislation. I'm proposing that there should be a legislative measure or arm that actually provide oversight for governor. I'm also saying that the risk level should be created. Audit report directly to the EFCC should happen, and there should just be total transparency that these money are being used totally for security.
And definitely the punchline should be transparency. Nigeria, I live in Nigeria, and many times I tell a lot of people that I don't see my life without being in Nigeria. Sometimes when you haven't been outside, you sort of circle your world around a particular place. I currently am planning to run again in 2027. I have run in 2019. I have run in 2021. And politics is very, very big for me. So part of the things that I'm trying to do is also be able to note down the things that should work right for my community and even Nigeria at large. But if one person does something good, for example, Governor Adeleke said his 600 million naira monthly stipend for security votes wasn't necessary, and he diverted those things into public projects, which you have also commended that is very important. That sometimes it's not about the security vote for security purposes, but what other things can you do? So if Governor Adeleke or somebody like myself is starting to put together in what ways Nigeria can move forward, why can't other governors do it? I don't know why it's hard. We can't have 100%, but should we not start pulling them maybe by the ear or by the nose like our mothers would do when we are not necessarily listening, to instill that you must do it, you must do it. So should we do protest again? Should we start to do, should we do a report? Should we start to put in proposals? Where do we submit them? How do we start to partner with public affairs analysts like you or other government agencies or even security agencies to drive these things? Let me state again that Daniel Bola revealed that some governors give as little as 20 million naira monthly to police, DSS, and the army, while pocketing billions as security votes. So how do we move on from this place as you wrap up the conversation this afternoon, Abraham?
I think there is an imbalance in the way we criticize in Nigeria, in the fact that criticism is hugely in the Southwest, and then perhaps the Southeast, and then the South-South. There is criticism to a degree in the North, but not as much as we focus the beam on, and the reason is, for example, Lagos is the hub of the nation, is the capital, the financial capital of the nation, Abuja also. So, and the other thing is that our imbalance in that we focus too much on presidents in our country. That every time we want to criticize, we only criticize we just, when we're thinking all of those things, we are just thinking of the president. When we start making every governor of every state accountable, and you have to understand that the culture in the North is different from the culture in the South. And the culture in the Southwest, I can criticize Obasanjo or Tinubu. I can criticize him on Twitter morning till night. I can see him in the evening and still eat on his table. In the Southeast, it's similar but different. If they are fighting, they are fighting. In the North, it's very difficult for you to even when you see your big leader, you make them almost like a god. If this imbalance is there, now look at the region of the country that is most insecure. They are the states where there are less scrutinies of governors. You cannot really speak. Instead, once those people want to complain, they go straight to the presidency. How do we create a measure of balance in criticism, in scrutinizing the governors? And one of the ways we can do that is almost impossible. This is what the Western countries did. Every Western countries today, or many of them, have several languages. But at some point, all languages were dissolved into one. They started speaking English, or they started speaking Russian, or they started speaking French, or they started speaking German. So many of their local language, Welsh, Scottish, what have you, are minimalized. For as long as we're entrenched into 500 and something language and every language wants to be heard, it will continue to be ununiform, imbalance in the way we scrutinize. Because civility is taught in the language that we speak, that you and I communicate, and in some culture, language affects the way that we undo things. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. And language is a very big issue. I think some months ago we had a conversation about representation and how everybody, some people, some groups are saying that they are being marginalized in one way or the other. And one of my big questions was that we have so many languages, so many communities in Nigeria. Nigeria is so diverse that it's almost impossible to put 100 million people together without picking different groups. And in some states, even in this Nigeria, a community to another community don't understand the language they're each speaking. So if everybody wants to be represented, where exactly are we going to be driving Nigeria to? How much representation can actually happen without people feeling like these groups should be the ones that should be thriving? And we had a very strong issue with the with zoning. that's another thing that Nigeria still faces: zoning, presidency, vice presidency, you know, and some of these elective positions to certain states in Nigeria, where some states have more than the other. But let's hope that we can find a balance moving on, moving from this. And as you said, we cannot throw the baby away with the bath. We must find a balance also between ensuring that our security votes actually go into securing lives and properties of Nigeria, and also bringing in that beyond security, community policing and other things that might look intangible or tangible in that case must be brought to life and into consideration. So thank you very much, Ibrahim, for joining this conversation and giving great insights on the topic for today. Well, we are wrapping up the show, and to be honest, security votes, in my opinion, were meant to provide quick response and funding to keep citizens safe. But today they've become a byword for secrecy and slush funds. So billions just disappear every month while insecurity escalates. We've seen abuse like biases, questionable allocations, and we've seen rare accountability like Lagos, like our guest mentioned, and Osun's refusal to take the money. What this shows us is simple: security votes reflect leadership choices. So leaders can either use them to genuinely protect lives or to enrich themselves. The Nigerian people deserve transparency. Every naira spent in our name must be accounted for. Until that happens, the debate over security votes will remain one of the clearest examples of why governance in Nigeria feels disconnected from the people. Well, I am the polyhumanitarian, and this has been Politics Uncensored. Until next time, let's keep believing in a Nigeria where dignity and progress walk side by side. Before I go, do ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. Follow us on all our social media handles. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, remember to stay involved, stay connected, and stay noticed. So I'll see you again next week. Have a great day.